They ghosted you, not just for a day, but for weeks. And now, somewhere in that stretch of silence, you started to find your footing. You stopped checking your phone every 20 minutes. You stopped replaying every conversation in your head. You finally start to slow down, take a breath, and feel like yourself again. And then your phone lights up. You see their name. And in the space of about 2 seconds, you notice all of those emotions rushing to the surface. Now you feel that jolt of fear and hope washing over you because it feels like this is it. They're back. But what you actually need to know before anything else is this. When an avoidant first reaches out, it does not mean what you think it means. And if you respond the wrong way inside of this window, this very specific short window, you can reset every bit of progress you've made. Not slow it down, reset it. Because there are most often three distinct things happening with an avoidant when they reach out. And understanding all three is the difference between you feeling calm or you feeling panicked. Now, most content about them reaching out focuses on two things: what they texted and how you should respond. But I'm not going to do that because neither of those questions gets you close enough to what is actually happening. Right now, what you need to understand is how things are starting to shift and change inside of them at the very moment they decide to hit send. Because at this point, most avoidants are going to go through three distinct internal states. They're happening at any moment, and each one changes what the right move looks like for you. Now, if you treat all three the same way, which almost everyone does, you don't just push them away. You get frustrated and confused. So, there's one misconception you need to let go of right now. When that first text comes, almost everyone feels the same way. They reached out, that means they want me back. But that is not what's happening. But it doesn't mean the relationship is over for them either. Avoidants first reach out because they still feel this connection you share. But at this point, that same connection can also make them feel smothered, overwhelmed, or trapped. And once you understand that, it changes everything about what you should do next. Because if you treat that moment like everything has changed now and they're back, then you'll come on too strong and that will cause them to pull away. But if you accept this for what it really is, a moment where some time has passed and things are starting to feel a little better, then the dynamic shifts and you start to feel some control. Now, that can change everything, and we'll come back to it in a moment. But right now, let's dive into three distinct things that are happening inside of them when they do reach out. The first, contact after a breakup, is often surprisingly casual. A meme, a hey, hope you're okay text, quick message that feels light and low stakes. And that can seem really strange because you've spent weeks thinking about this relationship and they're acting like nothing's happened. In situations like this, the general rule to remember is this: a casual message most often means they're reaching out in the safest way possible without jumping straight into a heavy conversation. Now, this is where people often get into trouble because after weeks of silence, their ex finally reaches out. And instead of responding to the message that was sent, they respond to the message they were hoping to see, especially if you're anxiously attached. Because when they first come back and you see that text or you hear this voice, your body floods with relief. Immediately, every instinct you have will push you to say something warm, show them that you're happy to hear from them, and to let them know you've been thinking about them all this time. Now, that feels like the right thing to do, but it's not. And here's why. When an avoidant reaches out with a short, casual message, it's because things are starting to feel better. In this instant, the weight and pressure of the relationship is starting to lift. They begin to settle down, and sending a casual message feels okay. That's why it's most often something small, like, hey, hope you're good. Nothing that asks for much, nothing that commits to anything, just a low pressure text. So, again, the principle I want you to keep in mind is this: the casual text tells us that the emotional intensity has dropped to a level they feel they can manage. But when you reply with a flood of emotions, I've missed you, I thought we were done, things were going so good, why did you pull away? They instantly feel, oh, that's too needy, too clingy. It's all just too much, which means you get no reply at all. Or they say, look, I'm not ready to talk. I just wanted to see how you were doing. And then they disappear all over again. Now, at this point, they're reaching out because they feel that connection. They're curious about you, what you're doing, and what it might feel like to talk to you again. But they're not trying to restart the relationship yet. So if this is where you are, then you can choose not to reply at all or send something short like, hey, doing well, hope you are too. No explanation, no questions about the relationship, no double texting them, just one calm, low stakes reply that keeps the door open. Now, let's say you've managed that. You responded calmly. You didn't flood their inbox. And as the days go by little, you slowly start to notice something is changing. Now, their messages get a little longer. They start reaching out first. They say, I've been thinking about you lately. They send a meme or an inside joke, just something that reminds them of you. At this point, the messages are getting warmer, but they are not discussing the relationship, and they haven't mentioned the breakup yet. These are signs of the second internal state. And here, the pull of this connection you share is growing even stronger, even if they are still uncertain about the relationship. Now, this is the blind spot that keeps most people stuck because this really feels like you're making progress. They're texting you more often, casual messages, jokes, questions about your week. You're having conversations that almost start to feel normal. And you find yourself wanting to open up. You say, I've been thinking about you. I've really missed you. Do you want to talk about us? Or you ask them, why are you reaching out now? What made you do that? Anything like this that helps you quickly define the relationship and get some clarity. Now, here's why that backfires. You and your ex are not in the same emotional headspace yet. What it might feel like for you is we're working our way back and rebuilding this relationship together. But right now, they're just working on rebuilding enough comfort to be able to talk to you about deeper things without shutting down. That's why the relationship and the breakup hasn't come up yet. What you actually need to know is this: the bond you share with this person is strong enough to keep that connection alive. But you both process things differently. With them, casual conversation comes first because it carries less emotional risk, which means they can stay calm and connected without having to talk about anything uncomfortable, just slowly letting things unfold in their own natural way. Now, if you're anxiously attached, then obviously you'll want to jump right into talking about everything. If you're securely attached, you'll let it happen in its own time. And if you're watching this right now because you're trying to figure out what to say or do next, and you want your ex to get to that final state we're going to talk about next, then you're going to want to do three things: start no contact, know how to reply to them, and have a plan for any mistakes you make. Now, I built something to help you with that, the no contact safety net. It tells you how to do no contact, it gives you exact scripts to reply with, and it has a complete system to correct any mistakes you might make. If you need that, you can get it from the link below. It isn't necessary to get that right now, but you do want to have a clear plan in place so you know what to do next. I want to be direct with you here because often avoidantly attached people cycle through those first two emotional states more than once before getting to this final one where they fully want to come back and be with you. Now, everyone at this point ask, how long before that happens? What is the timeline? And I'll link a video here that gives you just that. But it's critical to understand that timelines are based on what we most often see avoidants do. They're not a promise or a guarantee. Your relationship may be different than most people's. That's why it's so important to watch their behavior. Because some avoidants will send that first message and then disappear again for weeks. Some will have a few good conversations and then withdraw before anything meaningful develops. The important thing is for you not to panic when that happens. Because if you do, and you push too hard, then they panic and pull farther away. It helps to understand that this pattern is about pacing, not playing mind games. This doesn't mean you have to tolerate endless hot and cold behavior, but if you're still interested in seeing where the connection goes, then it has to happen in a way where you both feel safe. Now, here's what tends to happen for people who figure this out. They stop sending the long messages. They stop checking if their ex viewed their story 3 minutes after posting it. They stop obsessing over every detail and they start to slow down, let things get quiet for a moment, and begin to have some control over what's happening. Now, once all that pressure is starting to fade away, you often see the avoidant reaching out more often. But what you want to look for are clear signs that they've reached this third internal state, the one where they are coming back in a meaningful way. Now, there is something critical that most people miss here, and I'll explain that in a moment. But right now, just know that they might reach out and ask if you can really talk to them. Maybe a text turns into a 5-hour phone call where you both share how you feel about what's happened. Or maybe they want to meet up and talk about what went wrong. Now, this is where the deeper truth starts to unfold, because the real signal of change is when they bring up emotional topics and they stay with the conversation instead of pulling away from you. At the end of the day, this is what really counts. So I'm going to slow down here and say this in a very clear way. If you've learned to stay calm, steady, and just relax when you feel uncertain, instead of pushing them for immediate answers and reassurance, then you may see them reach this third internal state, which means the conversations between you will start to look and feel very different. This is the point where they realize what you have together. They talk directly about the relationship, what's happened, and how it affected both of you. And each of you take responsibility for what you both need to change going forward. And most importantly, follow through with the plan. Now, the panic window is a real phenomenon. It follows a pattern. They panic when you push them. You panic when they pull away. So even though you're starting to understand this, where does it ultimately leave you? Well, your avoidant ex may still be texting casually while avoiding direct conversations about the relationship. And that pattern may continue for a while, but it isn't necessarily the end of the story. So I'm going to leave you with one simple rule you can remember. The thing you can actually rely on is this: avoidants tend to move away when connection starts to feel like they're being smothered, but they move closer when the connection feels calm and voluntary. Now, just as things are starting to feel normal again, something happens to an avoidant. Something most people never expect. The next video covers exactly what that is and how to recognize when it's actually happening. You can watch it right here.